The vast chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with quiet anticipation. Representatives from dozens of star systems floated effortlessly in their designated seats. Their forms diverse and strange, some translucent, others armored, a few shimmering with bioluminescence. This was the center of galactic diplomacy, a place where peace was maintained by carefully crafted protocols and respect for tradition. Today, the Council awaited a historic event, humanity's first formal introduction to the galactic community. The humans had sent a single delegation aboard a ship that had traveled longer and farther than any before it. And the Council expected a ceremony of polished diplomacy. The preparations had been meticulous. The alien ambassadors practiced their greetings, the translators tuned their devices, and the ancient scripts of protocol were ready to be followed to the letter. Then the human ship arrived. Unlike the sleek, gleaming vessels that usually filled the Council's observation docks, the human craft was rough and utilitarian. Its hull was scratched and dented, evidence of hard journeys and rapid improvisations rather than perfect engineering. No elegant curves or shimmering fields surrounded it, just a blunt, confident silhouette. As the ship docked, a hush fell. Over the chamber, the air was thick with unspoken questions. Who were these humans? What were their intentions? Could this unpredictable newcomer fit within the careful order of the Council? The doors opened with a soft hiss, and out stepped the humans. They were an unassuming group, clad in simple uniforms with practical gear. They walked with purpose, but without ceremony. The lead human, Commander Avery, scanned the room with steady eyes and a faint smile. His posture was relaxed, but every movement held the weight of confidence. The Council's elder ambassador, a shimmering figure named Vianel, stepped forward and began the customary greetings. His voice echoed in perfect translation through the chamber. Honored delegates from Earth, we welcome you to the Galactic Council. May our meeting be fruitful and peaceful. Commander Avery tilted his head slightly. Thank you, he said, his voice calm but clear. We're glad to be here. We come not just to join, but to learn and to share. The room seemed to hold its breath. The humans' tone was respectful, but their straightforwardness was unfamiliar. Instead of formal bows or elaborate gestures, the humans simply stood, firm, and made eye contact with the alien delegates. Vianel pressed on, attempting the next stage of diplomatic ritual. Your arrival marks a new chapter for the galaxy. Please share your message with us. Avery glanced around before speaking. We didn't come here to promise peace through flowery words or traditions. We come because we believe survival depends on honesty and strength. Our history is messy, full of conflict and chaos, but we have learned to adapt, to innovate, and to endure. A ripple passed through the chamber. Murmurs rose among the Council members. This was not the polished diplomacy they had expected. Another human delegate, a woman named Tessa, stepped forward. Her voice was steady. We don't believe in hiding behind diplomacy to avoid hard truths. The galaxy wants peace. It needs to be built on trust and real action. We are ready to prove ourselves not with words, but with results. One of the alien ambassadors, a tall being with many eyes, frowned. Your tone is direct. It borders on disrespect to the customs of the Council. Tessa smiled slightly. We respect your customs. We just don't plan to be limited by them. The room grew tense. The Council had always valued order and subtlety, but here was a species that seemed to reject those principles outright. Yet there was something magnetic about their confidence. Their blunt honesty was like a fresh breeze cutting through stale air. As the meeting progressed, the humans asked questions that few had dared to raise. Why did the Council control so tightly? Why had they allowed inequalities to persist among species? Their inquiries forced the Council to confront uncomfortable realities. Venel struggled to maintain composure. Your boldness is unusual. but we welcome your perspectives." Commander Avery nodded. "We came expecting to meet equals. We are not here to threaten, but we will not be dismissed." By the time the first session ended, the council was no longer certain what to make of humanity. They had expected diplomacy. Instead, they had received a challenge that would ripple through the galaxy in ways no one could yet predict. Outside the chamber, whispers began. Some saw hope in these newcomers, while others feared the disruption they represented. The illusions of a peaceful, controlled galaxy were beginning to crack, and humanity's arrival was the first stone. The Galactic Council's chamber, once humming with quiet expectation, now simmered with cautious curiosity. The humans had arrived boldly, breaking the expected decorum. And the ripple of their presence spread far beyond the council halls. Whispers and debates filled corridors, datanets, and diplomatic gatherings across countless worlds. Inside the chamber, the council prepared for the next session with the human delegation. Today was the day the council hoped to engage in formal diplomacy to understand humanity's place in the galaxy and how they might fit within the established order. Ambassador Vienel, still recovering from the first encounter, prepared his carefully crafted speech. His voice, a soft cascade of melodic tones, carried through the hall with practiced grace. "Honored humans, the council wishes to extend the protocols of diplomacy to you, as it has done with all members. We invite you to share your intentions and to respect our traditions of measured dialogue." Commander Avery leaned forward, a subtle smile playing across his lips. "We appreciate the invitation, Ambassador. But if I'm honest, we find your traditions complicated." The room tensed. Avery's words were deliberate, designed to shake the foundation beneath the council's polished walls. The humans were not here to mirror alien customs. They were here to rewrite the rules. A female counselor, a slender figure, cloaked in shifting shadows, raised a tentacle delicately. "Your candor is unusual, human. We value subtlety and nuance. Diplomacy is an art. How do you expect to foster peace without it?" Tessa stepped forward, her eyes steady and clear. "We don't believe peace grows from polite words or half-truths. On Earth, our ancestors survived because they faced problems. Head-on, they adapted quickly, learned fast, and weren't afraid to challenge the status quo. That's the language we speak." An elder ambassador gasped softly, the translucent layers of his skin pulsing with unease. "You speak as if conflict is inevitable." "Conflict is real," Avery answered, "but so is cooperation. We don't shy away from hard truths because we think they'll disappear if we avoid them." Across the chamber, council members exchanged looks. The humans' refusal to conform unsettled many but also intrigued some. Their directness was a stark contrast to the elaborate verbal dances the council favored words crafted like silk veils, hiding true meaning. Vienel pressed on with an offer of a formal treaty proposal, hoping to guide the humans toward accepted practices. "Let us begin negotiations on your integration and cooperation with the council's objectives." Avery shook his head. "We're not here to simply fit in. We want to build something better, something fair. If that means rewriting old treaties, then so be it." A ripple of murmurs spread. A younger diplomat, a vibrant creature with tendrils of light, whispered to a neighbor, "Are humans even capable of subtlety? Or do they see the galaxy as a battlefield?" Tessa caught the whisper. "We see the galaxy as a chance to grow. But growth means breaking old patterns. Stubborn traditions won't keep us safe." A council scholar, fascinated despite herself, began reviewing data on human history. She saw tales of resilience. Plagues survived, empires risen and fallen, countless inventions forged in adversity. The humans' chaotic past was a tapestry, woven with mistakes, but also remarkable recovery. During the session, Humans asked questions no one had thought to ask. Why does the Council limit technology sharing? Why are some species left to struggle in poverty? Why does the Council claim to protect peace when so many worlds still suffer oppression? These questions cut deeper than any formal accusation. They challenged the very foundation of the Council's authority. Venel responded carefully. The Council maintains order for the greater good. Not all species are ready for equal standing. Patience and guidance are necessary. Patience is just another word for control, Avery replied calmly. We don't expect change overnight, but change must come. The galaxy deserves better than quiet oppression masked as stability. At the session's close, the atmosphere was electric with tension and possibility. Humans had spoken a language the Council had never learned, one of blunt truth and relentless curiosity. They refused to dance around issues, choosing instead to confront them head-on. Outside the chamber, reactions were mixed. Some Council members whispered of rebellion, warning that humanity's influence could shatter centuries of peace. Others saw hope, a chance to reshape the galaxy into a more just and vibrant place. For humanity, the day was just beginning. They knew the road ahead would be difficult, filled with resistance and skepticism. But their arrival had already shaken the Council's illusions. They intended to keep shaking until real change took root. The Council chambers buzzed with quiet murmurs long after the formal sessions ended. The humans' blunt honesty had unsettled many delegates, but it also stirred a strange sense of respect among a few. The uneasy balance between order and change teetered, and it was clear that humanity's arrival was more than a diplomatic formality, was a challenge. Commander Avery and his team spent the downtime engaging with smaller groups of delegates in informal settings, rooms, virtual forums, and even open markets near the Council complex. It was there, away from the polished protocols, that humanity's true strength began to shine. They spoke openly of Earth's turbulent history of natural disasters that nearly wiped out their species, of wars fought and lost, and of rapid technological leaps born from necessity rather than careful planning. Their stories were raw, honest, and unlike anything the Council had heard. A species that has survived extinction events, global conflicts, and social upheaval, Avery explained during one conversation, doesn't just survive by luck. They survive because they innovate fast, adapt constantly, and refuse to give up. A counselor from the aquatic world of Solaris, known for their rigid hierarchical society, listened intently. Your history sounds chaotic. How can chaos be strength? It's not chaos for chaos' sake, Tessa answered. It's chaos because life isn't neat. If you plan only for what you expect, you'll be destroyed by what you don't. Our strength lies in being unpredictably bold to change course in an instant. The aquatic counselor nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps there is wisdom in that. Our own species tends to rely on stability, but sometimes that becomes rigidity. Back in the main chamber, the Council convened a special session to discuss humanity's potential impact. Some members voiced concern that humans might destabilize the carefully maintained balance. Our technology, while not as advanced as yours in certain areas, is designed for resilience, Avery had said earlier during the meeting. We don't rely on perfection. We rely on rapid repair, constant iteration, and learning from failure. The Council debated heatedly. For centuries, many species had perfected their technology to a point of elegance and refinement, yet often at the cost of flexibility. The human's approach, born from a more unpredictable and dangerous environment, seemed almost reckless, but it was also undeniably effective. In the midst of debate, whispers spread that humans had already begun sharing their innovations with select species outside the Council's elite species, often ignored or marginalized. This grassroots spread of technology and ideas only fueled concern among the more conservative factions. A mysterious Council member known only as Zell Tar spoke with quiet intensity. Humans bring a storm, not a breeze. They upset our order. But perhaps that storm is what we need. We have grown complacent. Others sharply disagreed. Complacency is safety, argued Ambassador Relkin, a stern figure with crystalline armor. Your admiration for humanity blinds you to the chaos they bring. Change must be controlled, or it will destroy us. Amid the rising tension, the humans remained calm. Avery addressed the council once more. We don't seek to destroy. We want to grow together. But growth requires breaking old patterns, facing uncomfortable truths, and daring to be different. This time, the words lingered longer. The council could no longer dismiss humans as mere newcomers with brash attitudes. They were a force born from adversity, shaped by survival, and armed with a willingness to challenge convention. As the session ended, the council's factions began to shift. Some delegates sought to learn from the humans, intrigued by their resilience and inventiveness. Others plotted ways to contain them, fearing the unpredictability that could threaten their power. Outside, human delegates continued their quiet outreach, sharing knowledge, offering support, and listening to stories of species struggling under council neglect. Slowly, humanity built bridges beyond the grand halls, planting seeds of change where suspicion had once reigned. In this galaxy governed by protocol and tradition, the human strength in chaos was a new language, one that could either unite or unravel the council. The question was no longer if humanity would change the galaxy, but how the galaxy would respond to that change. The elegant corridors of the Galactic Council hid more than just diplomatic conversations. Behind polished walls and beneath carefully curated facades, whispered alliances and secret agendas thrived. Humanity's arrival, bold and unyielding, had shattered the calm surface, and the shadows within the council began to stir. In a dimly lit chamber, far from the public eye, a small group of council members gathered. Their faces were tense, their voices low, but their resolve clear. We cannot allow humanity's influence to spread unchecked, said Ambassador Relkin, his crystalline armor catching the faint glow of the room. Their unpredictability threatens the stability we have maintained for centuries. A murmur of agreement circled the table. Another delegate, a serpentine being named Lyrikesh, added, "They have already begun forming alliances with species we deem unreliable. If we do not act, they will upset the balance and weaken the council's authority." Relkin's eyes narrowed. "We must contain them, silence their dissent, and limit their access. We have ways to enforce our will without open conflict." Across the galaxy, humans sensed the growing tension. Their instincts, honed through centuries of conflict and survival, warned them of unseen dangers. Commander Avery convened a private meeting with his closest advisors. "We expected resistance," Avery said quietly. "But now we need to be more vigilant. The council's power is rooted in control and secrecy. They will not welcome change that threatens their dominance." Tessa nodded. "We have allies, but we must move carefully. The council's shadow players are skilled. They'll use manipulation, sabotage, anything to protect their interests." Their concerns proved justified. In the days that followed, mysterious disruptions began to occur. Communications between human delegates and their new allies were interrupted. Critical data files vanished. Unexplained delays stalled their progress on key initiatives, but humanity was not easily deterred. Using their characteristic adaptability, they traced the interference back to covert council operatives. Rather than retaliate blindly, they used the information as leverage. At a secret meeting, Avery confronted Relkin with evidence of sabotage. "We know who is behind the attacks," he said calmly. "This is a choice to work together or continue down a path of mistrust." Relkin's expression hardened. "You misunderstand the council's intentions. We protect the galaxy." Your reckless actions endanger all of us. We protect ourselves by being honest and resilient, Avery replied. Pretending the galaxy is peaceful while hiding corruption only postpones the inevitable. Word of the confrontation spread, quickly unsettling many council members. The humans had pierced the veil of secrecy, exposing the cracks beneath the council's polished exterior. For some, this was a moment of awakening. For others, a cause for alarm. Amid the turmoil, humans intensified their outreach. They hosted forums where voices from marginalized species could be heard openly, inviting council members to witness the consequences of years of neglect and control. In these gatherings, stories emerged, worlds crippled by council sanctions, species denied, resources and traditions crushed in the name of order. The humans listened without judgment, offering solutions born from their own history of overcoming adversity. Not all council members embraced these revelations. Some plotted harder, working in shadows to isolate the humans and their allies. They spread misinformation, questioned human motives, and sought to portray them as dangerous radicals. Yet the humans remained steady. Their resilience and commitment to transparency attracted growing support. More species, long silenced by the council's hierarchy, found hope in humanity's message. As tensions escalated, the council found itself at a crossroads. The old ways of quiet control clashed with the rising call for openness and change. The shadows that once protected the council's power were beginning to crumble under the light of human persistence. In the end, humanity's arrival had revealed more than their own strength. It exposed the council's vulnerabilities, the hidden fractures in a system long thought unbreakable. The question now was not if the council would change, but how far the shadows would go to restand what humanity was willing to risk to bring the galaxy into a new dawn. The galaxy was vast, and the council's influence stretched across countless star systems. Yet beneath the grandeur of its rule, many worlds lived in shadows, ignored, oppressed, or forgotten. Humanity's arrival had begun to stir hope in places long silenced, away from the Grand Council chambers. Humans took a different approach. They sought out the marginalized species that had suffered under the Council's rigid hierarchy and policies. Where the Council saw disorder or weakness, humanity saw potential and partners. Commander Avery and Tessa led a delegation to the planet Cora, a world rich in culture but devastated by decades of neglect and sanctions. The native Korans were a proud people with vivid traditions. Yet they had been relegated to the outskirts of galactic politics. When the humans arrived, they did not bring grand speeches or promises. Instead, they brought tools, knowledge, and a willingness to listen. "We're not here to save you," Tessa said during a gathering with Korans. "We want to build something together, a future where your voice matters." The Korans, wary at first, gradually opened up. They shared stories of their struggles, of lives constrained by council mandates that prioritized control over well-being. The humans offered technical assistance ways to rebuild infrastructure, improve communication, and strengthen local governance. News of the human delegation's efforts spread quickly. Other species in similar situations reached out, seeking connection and support. From the desert worlds of Zar to the dense jungles of Velmer, humans forged unlikely friendships. Back at the Council, this growing network of alliances caused unease among the traditional powers. Some diplomats whispered warnings. The humans are building a coalition not just of species, but of discontent. But Avery saw it differently. These alliances aren't about rebellion for its own sake. They're about fairness and respect. The Council must listen to all voices, not just the powerful. These new relationships brought fresh perspectives to galactic politics. Species once silenced began to demand recognition, their collective voices growing louder with human support. Council sessions became livelier, filled with debates that challenged old assumptions. A counselor named Rilthar, from a species long overlooked, spoke during one meeting. For too long, we were invisible. Humanity has shown us that our stories matter. We seek not chaos, but inclusion. Yet, not all welcomed this shift. Ambassador Relkin and others pushed back fiercely, accusing the humans of sowing discord. Unity comes from order, not upheaval, he insisted. The Council's stability is at risk. Despite resistance, humanity's alliances continued to grow. They demonstrated that strength was not just in technology or power, but in building trust across differences. On Korra, Avery met with local leaders. "This is just the beginning," he said. "Together, we can create a galaxy where every species thrives." The Karens smiled, hope flickering in their eyes. For the first time in generations, they felt seen and heard as the humans' network expanded. The Council faced a choice: adapt to this new reality or risk fracturing. Under the weight of ignored truths, the arrival of humanity had already shaken the foundations of galactic diplomacy. Through unexpected friendships and alliances, it was reshaping the very heart of the galaxy's future. The Galactic Council had never faced a challenge quite like this. Humanity's rise within its chambers and beyond had sparked fierce debates and divided loyalties. The old order, once unshakable, was showing signs of strain. Inside the Grand Hall, the atmosphere was charged. Council members from powerful species clashed with delegates from marginalized worlds, now bolstered by human support. Voices raised, diplomatic facades cracked, and the Council's carefully maintained harmony teetered on the edge. Ambassador Relkin slammed his crystalline staff on the floor, demanding order. "Enough. This chaos threatens the very peace we have fought to preserve. We cannot allow unchecked dissent to unravel centuries of progress." Tessa stood firm, her voice calm but resolute. "What you call chaos is the voice of those long silenced. Progress means change, even if it is uncomfortable." The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of truth settling over the assembly. Outside the chamber, tension spilled into the public sphere. Galactic news networks broadcast debates, protests, and rallies. Some hailed humanity as champions of justice and renewal. Others warned of reckless upheaval amid the turmoil. Commander Avery convened a private council with his human advisors and key allies. "We are at a crossroads," he said. "We can push too hard and risk fracturing the council, or we can find a way to build bridges." One of his advisors, a strategist named Yolan, nodded. "Our strength is our ability to adapt. We need to offer solutions, not just criticism." Inspired, the humans proposed a bold initiative, a new treaty focused on transparency, equal representation, and shared resources, a framework that would address the grievances voiced by marginalized species and ensure all voices were heard. The proposal shocked many council members. It challenged centuries of exclusive control and demanded real power sharing. Vienel, the elder ambassador, spoke cautiously. "Your proposal is unprecedented. It calls for changes that will unsettle many. But perhaps it is time we reconsider what peace truly means." Negotiations began in earnest. The process was difficult. Grudges, fears, and ambitions surfaced. Yet, the humans' persistence and willingness to listen helped ease tensions. They worked tirelessly to find common ground, balancing idealism with pragmatism. During one crucial session, a breakthrough came. Rilthor, the counselor from the once overlooked species, stood alongside Avery. "This treaty is more than words. It is a promise to our galaxy's future where no voice is ignored." Relkin, though reluctant, acknowledged the growing momentum. "If we are to survive, we must evolve. But change must be measured and careful." The Council voted on the treaty, and for the first time in its history, a majority favored reform. The treaty was adopted, signaling a turning point for the galaxy. Celebrations erupted across worlds. Species long marginalized rejoiced at the prospect of real inclusion. Humans were hailed not as conquerors, but as catalysts for unity. Yet Avery knew the work was far from over. This is a beginning, not an end. Old habits die hard, and resistance remains. Indeed, factions still oppose the treaty, seeking ways to undermine it. But the tide had shifted. The Council could no longer ignore the call for justice and transparency. In the months that followed, the treaty's provisions began to take effect. Councils were restructured, resources redistributed, and dialogues opened across star systems. Slowly, a new era dawned, one built on cooperation, respect, and shared hope. Humanity's arrival had sparked turmoil, but it had also illuminated a path forward. The galaxy, once divided by fear and control, is beginning to imagine a future where strength came not from dominance, but from unity. The new treaty promised change, but beneath the surface of galactic politics, old tensions still simmered. While many species celebrated newfound representation and fairness, others quietly plotted resistance. The Council's fragile unity was not yet secure. Commander Avery and his team continued their work, visiting worlds to oversee the treaty's implementation. They saw hopeful signs: communities rebuilding, dialogues opening, and cooperation increasing. But they also encountered deep-seated mistrust and covert opposition on the industrial planet Varnes. A vital hub for resource extraction, protests erupted. A faction loyal to the old Council order called themselves the Guardians of Order. They rejected the treaty, claiming it weakened security and threatened galactic stability. Avery met with their leaders, hoping to find common ground. "We understand your fears," he said. "But stability built on exclusion is fragile. True security comes from inclusion and trust." The Guardians responded with suspicion. "Your humans are outsiders. You disrupt traditions that have kept peace for centuries. Your inclusion is chaos in disguise." The confrontation ended without resolution. A reminder that not all wounds healed easily. Back at the Council, fractures became more visible. Some powerful delegates covertly supported the Guardians, undermining reforms behind closed doors. Secret meetings and whispered deals threatened to unravel progress. Vienel, once an advocate for measured change, grew increasingly cautious. "We must protect what we have built," he warned. "Too much upheaval risks everything." Tessa, standing beside Avery, disagreed. "The old ways failed many. We cannot retreat into fear. We must confront these fractures openly." As tensions escalated, a mysterious sabotage struck the Council's communication network, disrupting critical negotiations. Fingers pointed in many directions, but the truth remained elusive. Avery suspected the Guardians, but lacked proof. The sabotage was a stark reminder that change was not just a political battle. It was a struggle for the soul of the galaxy, determined to protect the fragile peace. The humans proposed the formation of a new Council security force, trained to uphold the treaty and guard against internal threats. The idea faced fierce debate. Critics decried it as militarization. Supporters saw it as necessary vigilance. After intense negotiation, a compromise was reached, a mixed force, including representatives from diverse species. With strict oversight to prevent abuse, meanwhile, human diplomats worked tirelessly to build trust with skeptical factions. Held forums, mediated disputes, and highlighted shared goals. Slowly, some Guardians began to question their stance, recognizing the treaty's potential to strengthen rather than weaken the galaxy. But not all were willing to change. In the shadows, a faction of Guardians planned a bold move to disrupt the upcoming Council summit where key treaty provisions would be ratified. The humans received warnings from unexpected ally species previously distant from the Council's politics. The threat was real and imminent. As the summit approached, Avery prepared for the possibility of conflict. "We have come too far to back down now," he told his team. "But we must remain vigilant, united, and ready." The summit's opening was tense. Delegates arrived, wary, security heightened. The air was thick with anticipation and unspoken fears. Humanity's presence was a beacon of hope for many, but a provocation for others. The coming days would test not only the treaty, but the galaxy's ability to heal from its fractures. The question lingered: could unity endure when shadows still whispered of rebellion? The Council summit opened under heavy guard, every delegate acutely aware that the fragile peace was hanging by a thread. The Grand Hall, usually a place of polished speeches and diplomatic dance, felt charged with urgency and danger. Commander Avery stood near the human delegation's table, eyes scanning the room. His instincts, sharpened by Earth's turbulent history, told him trouble was close. True to the warnings, as the first day unfolded, signs of sabotage emerged. Data streams flickered, security protocols were tested, and subtle disruptions rippled through the Council's systems. The Guardians of Order had made their move quiet, calculated, but unmistakably aimed at fracturing the summit's progress. Yet, humanity and their allies responded swiftly. The newly formed Mixed Security Force, trained in trust and cooperation, moved seamlessly to contain threats. Their presence was a symbol of the new treaty's promise: unity through vigilance, strength in diversity. Amidst the tension, voices rose in debate, passions flaring, old grievances voiced, but also new hope igniting. Delegates from marginalized worlds, once silenced, spoke with clarity and courage about the future they envisioned. Avery addressed the assembly. "This summit is more than politics. It is a test of our shared commitment to a galaxy where every voice matters. We face opposition, yes, but also opportunity. Together, we can build a future stronger than any one species alone." The Council listened. Slowly, the storm of suspicion began to calm. The sabotage attempts, though serious, only strengthened the resolve of those who believed in change. The treaty's key provisions were ratified, reshaping Council governance, redistributing resources more equitably, and establishing new forums for open dialogue. It was a victory born from struggle, but a victory nonetheless. In the days that followed, celebrations spread across star systems. The galaxy was waking to a new dawn, one where cooperation replaced control, and inclusion challenged exclusion. Humanity's role had been pivotal, not as conquerors or masters, but as catalysts for transformation. Their arrival had shattered illusions, confronted uncomfortable truths, and inspired a collective vision of unity. Yet Avery knew this was only the beginning. "Change is a process, not an event," he told Tessa as they watched the summit's closing ceremony. "The real work starts now, building trust, repairing divisions, and ensuring no voice is left behind." Tessa smiled. "We've come a long way, but the galaxy still holds many challenges. I believe we're ready." As the Council chamber emptied, a new sense of possibility hung in the air. The galaxy was not perfect, but it was moving forward toward a future shaped by resilience, honesty, and hope. The Council had expected diplomacy. Instead, humanity had brought a revolution of the spirit, a call to face reality with courage and change with purpose. In that moment, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if recognizing a new chapter unfolding across the cosmos. The dawn of a new galaxy had arrived.